When it comes to the biggest rivalry in college basketball, it's clear that North Carolina far and away blows out Duke in the NBA talent they produce. While many schools produce solid NBA players, few have spit out as many legends as UNC. I mean, I'm sure you can already guess who is taking up that number one spot. Today, we're talking about the best North Carolina basketball players of all time. Before we get started today, don't forget to slam that like button and hit the bell below so you can be notified every time we put out fresh content. Without further ado, the best Tar Heels of all time. Number 11. Bobby Jones. If Bobby Jones is coming in as the 11th best player to come from your school, then you must be well off. While he never put up the flashiest numbers during his career, he was a dynamite defensive talent who helped the 76ers become so dominant in the late 70s and early 80s. Surprisingly though, Jones's best season actually came before the 76ers, where he averaged a killer stat line of 15 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks a game for the Denver Nuggets. By the time Jones hung them up, his hustle had earned him 4 All-Star appearances, 8 All-Defensive selections, the very first 6th Man of the Year award, and of course, that 1983 NBA title alongside Dr. J and Moses Malone. Number 10. Rasheed Wallace. While Rasheed Wallace might be best known for his trash-talking, ball-don't-lie yelling ways, many forget how much of a baller he was. With a smooth jumper, fluid post-game, and great defensive instincts, Wallace was selected 4th overall by the then Washington Bullets and went to work right away, making the all-rookie second team. However, just 2 years later, he would find himself in Portland playing some of the best basketball of his life, averaging near 20 and 10 numbers with a steal and block every game. With Wallace and plenty of other talent on that Blazers team, they nearly took out the powerhouse Lakers, but alas, they fell apart in that famous Game 7. But of course, Rasheed would have his payback a few years later, as he and the rest of that gritty Pistons team would defy all expectations, beating the Lakers in the finals and effectively ending the Shaq-Kobe era. Number 9. Brad Daugherty. Brad Daugherty was one of the forgotten big men of the 80s and 90s, getting overshadowed by the likes of Hakeem, Robinson, Ewing, and Shaq. But he and the Cavs were more dominant than you think back then. He was tearing up the scene back in his UNC days, and his great low-post play led the Cavaliers to select him with the 1st overall pick. From there on out, Daugherty really never had an ineffective season, averaging 19 points, 10 rebounds, and nearly 4 assists per game throughout his career. He and Mark Price drove the Cavs to 5 separate playoff appearances throughout his short career, but unfortunately, they kept running into the number 1 player on this list over and over again. Brad Daugherty was a really solid center during his time, and if he didn't have to call it quits after only 10 seasons due to a bad back, then perhaps he would get more recognition for his game. Number 8. Jerry Stackhouse. Jerry Stackhouse was a certifiable bucket in the NBA during his glory days. After an impressive college career with the Tar Heels, Stackhouse came out of the gate blazing, averaging 20 points per game after 2 seasons with the Sixers. Stackhouse would hit a dip in those numbers for a few years, but then exploded on his new Pistons team, averaging an incredible 29.8 points per game during the 2001 season, earning himself one of 2 All-Star appearances. Worries about defense and inefficiency kept Stackhouse out of the conversation as one of the best players in the league, but he was still a fun player to watch for fans. Unfortunately for Stackhouse, he would be a wizard by the time that Pistons team won a championship in 2004. But hey, at least he got to play with Jordan in his final go-round, even if the two of them had beef. Number 7. Walter Davis. The Greyhound, the Candyman, the man with the velvet touch. No matter what nickname he was going by, Walter Davis was one of the sweetest shooters in the league, averaging near or above 20 points per game for most of his career. Davis came out of UNC scoring buckets in bunches, averaging 24 points per game, his career high, and running away with the Rookie of the Year award. His 6 All-Star appearances propelled the often-forgotten Suns into the playoffs on several occasions. Walter Davis was such a fun player to watch back in the day that Michael Jordan of all people looked up to him, eventually facing off against him for much of the 80s. Number 6. Antawn Jamison. Antawn Jamison would have been perfect for today's game. A versatile 4 who can shoot and defend multiple positions, that profile will get you a roster spot on any team. But still, Jamison was a baller 20 years ago too. He was drafted 4th by the Raptors, but ended up getting traded for fellow Tar Heel Vince Carter and landed with Golden State Warriors. There, Jamison would put up some of the best numbers of his career. His first year playing a full season led to Jamison going off for 24 points per game and showing some impressive performances along the way, scoring 50-plus points in back-to-back games, becoming the first person to do that since Michael Jordan. Jamison may have never found the promised land and won himself an NBA title, but he sure did ball out as an individual throughout his career. Number 5. Billy Cunningham. Old Billy Cunningham only played 8 seasons in the NBA and 2 in the ABA, but boy did he put work in during his short career. Billy may have looked like your average Joe, but he was a baller and had crazy hops for the time, earning himself the nickname Kangaroo Kid. His best seasons came in the late 60s, where in 1966-67, he helped lead that stacked Sixers team to a 68-13 record, along with an NBA championship. Wilt Chamberlain takes over much of the spotlight for that team, but they wouldn't have been as good as they were without the likes of Hal Greer and Billy Cunningham. The Kangaroo Kid would only keep improving from there, reaching his best statistical season a few years later, where he shelled out an MVP-like stat line of 26 points, 13.5 rebounds, and 4 assists per game. Billy really was a talent at that time, and the work he packed into his short career made sure that he ended up on the 50 greatest players of all time list. Number 4. Bob McAdoo. Big Bob McAdoo is another legend who might have benefited even more from today's playstyle. The combo big man could run the floor, guard the post, shoot the ball with a sweet touch, score at the rim. He really was a versatile player that defenses had trouble guarding. After a tremendous rookie year in which he received the Rookie of the Year honors, McAdoo went on to capture 3 consecutive scoring titles. Along with those honors, Bob also snagged an MVP in the 75 season, averaging a ridiculous 34 points, 14 rebounds, 1 steal, and 1.5 blocks per game for the Buffalo Braves. While his talent was through the roof, McAdoo's skill often went to waste as he consistently played for teams who underperformed. That was until he found himself as the 6th man on a Lakers squad featuring none other than Magic and Kareem, where he would help them win 2 more titles. To this day, Bob McAdoo is one of just 2 Tar Heels to earn the MVP award. Number 3. Vince Carter. Vinsanity has been flying through arenas from his days in Chapel Hills all the way through a long and entertaining career in the NBA. Like we mentioned before, Carter was dealt on draft night for his teammate Antawn Jamison, and it didn't take long for the Raptors to notice they made the right choice. Carter would exceed tremendously his first year out of college, averaging nearly 20 points a game and winning the Rookie of the Year award by a landslide. From there on out, Carter was mesmerizing fans on all levels. His incredible dunk contest performance, his famous dunk in the Olympics, and his all-star play on the court made him one of the most fun players to watch in the game. But what's really impressive with Vince is his longevity and willingness to help the game. Finally hanging it up after a long career, Carter was still a tremendous value to teams in the last 5 years by adding a locker room presence that can't be obtained by purely physical skill, but by generosity and love for the game. Number 2. James Worthy. Big Game James was tough. His college career at UNC showed just what kind of player he was, and Laker Nation was lucky that they got that first overall pick coming off an NBA championship. While his regular season numbers don't exactly pop out at you like some of the other players on this list, Worthy was a pillar of consistency and toughness for the Lakers throughout his career, and when the big lights came on is when Worthy shined the most. Sure, Worthy had 7 All-Star trips and 3 championships, but his crowning achievement came as he won the Finals MVP against the Bad Boy Pistons in '88, capping off the final run in the Laker-dominant '80s. To this day, he and the next entry are the only Tar Heels to win a Finals MVP. Number 1. Michael Jordan. Could it have been anyone else? No better player has strolled through college basketball, let alone UNC, than his airness. I mean, what is there to say about Michael Jordan that hasn't already been aired in a 10-part documentary? So let's take a turn and talk about his college career a bit. Jordan played a full 3 seasons in Chapel Hill, propelling the team to an excellent 88-13 record, while showcasing his skills as one of the best talents in the country. He may have not been seen as the best player in college basketball at that time, but the spark was certainly there, and longtime fans weren't surprised to see his success later on. Most importantly, however, Michael showcased his winning ways early on, leading UNC to a national championship with an incredible game-winning shot against Georgetown. Michael was a legend for UNC before he even became what he is in the NBA. The only other player who had a more legendary UNC career than Michael? You guessed it, Tyler Psycho T. Hansbrough. That's it for today. Who's your favorite player to come out of UNC? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Have an awesome day!